Hello, my name is Eric Thompson. I am the founder and chief investment officer of Peerless Wealth, a registered investment advisory firm right here in Columbus, Ohio. As always, thank you for tuning in. I hope this content that I'm about to discuss is of value to you or possibly someone you know. So today, what I'm going to talk about is Roth IRA versus traditional IRA, or same really discussion, Roth 401k versus traditional 401k. So before I get started on that, let's be clear on something. An IRA, 401k, these are types of accounts. They're not the investments within the accounts. So when clients come to me and they have money to invest or they want to develop a savings plan, we not only want to pick the right investments, but we want to do it in the most tax advantageous way. So what IRAs and 401ks really are tax advantage retirement plans. And the good news is both of these offer tax benefits, either now or at retirement. The bad news, and I don't even know if it is bad news, but they are tied up typically till age 59 and a half. And so if you draw money out of these accounts early, there's potential for penalties. So when you do these things, especially for a younger person, you really want to have that long-term time horizon in mind. And I kind of like that stipulation because it really sort of forces people mentally to, that's long-term money and I'm not going to touch it. I don't think all your money should be in these accounts. Ideally, you have some that's invested that's readily available, but these offer some great tax advantages. So let's go into the traditional IRA / 401k right away. 401ks and IRAs, you can contribute to them and you can deduct that contribution from your taxes. 401ks are offered by your employer, and most people will contribute pre-tax to the 401k. So if your paycheck is $1,000 and you put $100 into the 401k, you only pay taxes on $900. So it immediately cuts your tax bill. So that your paycheck won't go down by $100. It might go down by 70 or 80 because you're saving that tax. So it makes it easier for people to save. Now that money grows and grows over the years, and it's tax deferred, meaning you don't pay taxes along the way on any dividends, interest, or capital gains. And ultimately, when you retire and you start drawing money out, well then the amount you draw out every year is taxed as regular income, because you got the deduction to begin with, it's deferred, so when you pull it out, it's taxed. Now, 401ks, pre-tax 401ks have been around for decades, and this is the conventional way to save because most people are in a higher tax bracket in their working years than they are when they're retired. And as you can see from the tax table, I'll give you an example. Somebody that was making we'll say joint filers making $100,000 a year, you can see is in the 22% tax bracket. But let's say they retired and they were maybe living on $70,000 a year. Well, now they're in the 12% tax bracket. So they save 22% in federal taxes. They also save state and local, but they save 22% in federal taxes along the way, and they only paid at the rate of 12. So that's why most people do pre-tax if they expect their income to drop. Now we can flip that drop when they retire. Now we can flip that around and talk about after-tax or Roth contributions. So if you contribute to your 401k via Roth, that $100 that you put in, you're still taxed on your full $1,000 paycheck. You don't get any sort of break along the way. Let's assume you invest it the same way, put the same amount in, you're going to have the same nest egg when you retire. But that Roth, now anytime you take money out of that to live on, that money's 100% tax-free because you didn't get the benefit when you put it in. So, but again, if you're in a higher tax bracket when you put it in, that may not have been the way to go. But know this, as many of you are probably thinking, we don't know what tax rates are going to be when we retire. And my advice to most people is think about tax brackets, but do a little bit of both. If you can have some where you're getting the tax benefit now and then some in Roth where it's all tax-free later, you have what we call tax diversification. Whatever the government, IRS decides to do when you retire, If they raise tax rates, you got Roth money. You can say, you know what? That's okay. I'm just going to spend out of my Roth for a little while until tax rates go down. Tax rates are reasonable, the advice is flipped around. So that's typically the advice that I give. You can do the same thing with IRAs. You can deduct an IRA contribution now if you qualify based on income levels, but then you pay tax when you take it out. Or you can contribute to a Roth IRA where you don't get a deduction, but then it's all tax-free at the end. I have access to various calculators and software programs where we can put tax brackets in and so on and so forth and try to pinpoint it. But generally, it's best to do a little bit of both. Generally, when people retire, they take 401k money and they roll it to a traditional IRA, because usually that was pre-tax money, and then it goes into a rollover traditional IRA. But if some of it was after tax, that's accounted for separately, and we put it over into the Roth. So it's not just about picking the right investments, but about picking the right accounts to house those investments to maximize the tax benefits of the individual investor. I hope that helps, and tune in next time. Thank you very much.